I would like to begin with a namaste to everyone and a thought which is in Sanskrit, which says Samayak Sarti iti sansaram, which means the world is ever evolving. And that is what we need to tell our children, especially today. The world is evolving so fast that it is no more a generation gap. It has moved extremely fast, due to which we need to have a change of mindset and not a tunnel vision when we are approaching education. So the first thing I'm going to make you do, all of you, is put your arms like this. Can you see how I folded my arms? So I want everybody to fold their arms like this. All right. Have you all done it? Fold your arms. Okay. So now put your arms down and then consciously think how you folded your arms. So if I put my hand this way and then put it this way, now I have to do it the other way. So I have to put it here and I have to turn it. So now please do that. Don't do it the way you do it the other way. Okay. So what do you think that happened over here? What happened? And put it in the chat box. What happened to your mind? What happened when you were trying to change your posture? A simple thing like changing your posture. Okay. Anybody else?
We have answers. You felt relaxed.
Okay. So, any more? So I can see Nazareth has written felt relaxed. Any other? Had to make a conscious effort. Very true, Manisha. Confused. True. Very well said. Right? To think how to do it. It was not that easy. Become conscious of a simple thing like folding the arms. Thank you so much. Conscious effort. Yes. So I think you've got the gist of what I'm trying to say over here, that when we have to make a change, and with the kind of change that's coming into education, we always keep hearing one sentence, that the job scenario is not at all transparent. We do not know what are the jobs which are going to come in tomorrow. So keeping that in mind, what are the main things we need to focus on as we start to teach our children is what we are going to do through this particular, whether you call it a workshop or this interaction, because I like an interactive session. So we are going to be doing a little more interaction, right? So I would like to put up my PPT. So we are talking about designing futures with design thinking. I think I have kind of made the premise for what we are going to be doing. Now I'm going to go on to a pre-workshop assignment, right? In school, we call this flip learnings. Many of you may have already applied it in school. So let's begin with the first question. What are the best practices you use for enhancing or increasing curiosity in your students in the school? And why are you being asked to focus on curiosity and determine its importance in the teaching learning process is what you need to talk about. So quickly, short answers on the chat box. I would love to see that. How do you imbibe curiosity or ignite curiosity in your students?
Practical education.
Thank you.
Exposure.
Exposure, very important.
Tell them new things.
Very true.
Start a new conversation. Give them something to think about.
Okay. So I like this particular
Let the
statement, give them
children.
something to think about. How would you give people something to think about? So I'll give you an example of what I do as a teacher, what I still teach, by the way, in spite of the fact that I look after 4 schools, I still teach because it's my passion to be with children. And I feel I am invigorated when I'm with children. So I like to be there. Earlier, I used to teach English. I've also taught sciences to CBSE, to Cambridge, and I've taught theory of knowledge to IB students. Now I teach life skills because I feel that's the most important thing that you can teach in this changing scenario. So I have a very simple way of attracting children's attention. So what I do is I carry something in the corridors when I'm going to a class. It can be anything. My first class is usually with flowers or a teddy bear. And everybody else, all other classes ask me, ma'am, why are you carrying this teddy bear? Or why are you carrying flowers? Usually it's paper flowers from the art department. So I tell them that I'm going to teach them a concept. So the curiosity, and there are grade 7 students because I teach in grade 8. I've uh, actually trained for handling of adolescents in the US. So I kind of take that, and the kind of interest, the kind of curiosity, not only from students, but also from teachers. And I think that is one of the first things you can do to raise curiosity. Carry something with you to class, and for each concept that you want to introduce, carry something. And you will find that this is a big enhancer of curiosity. All right, let's come to the second question. What are the best practices you use for introducing a concept in the class? How do you introduce a concept in the class? You can integrate it with SDGs, design thinking, multiple intelligences, and so on. I will show you how we do it in our school later on. But if you can give me some examples from your school, because this is about also sharing best practices. So okay, so I do see carry a surprise element with you in class. Rinki, thank you. I think similarly, Ruchi has written carry a prop related to the topic and carry something related to the topic while entering the class. Absolutely, Mona. Okay, Kavita's written by giving examples, all right? Allowing students to create a presentation on a topic, which again would be flip learning because they would create a presentation and then the topic would be discussed. Nazrith, is that what you are saying? All right. So one of the best things I feel, thank you, Nazareth, for answering. Start with an activity. Absolutely, Srividya. That's so true. Let's start with an activity related to the topic chosen. And I can see Manisha also on the basis of the need of the students, Jaya Kumar has written. So that's very, very important through a story. Very true. For Shalini Padlani, do you teach lower classes? So because for the lower classes, stories are wonderful. And if you carry puppets to class, that is fantastic. I think that's what Shalini is trying to say. All right. So from here, we move on to the next question. What are the best practices you use for enhancing innovative and creative thinking skills in your school? All right, there's an answer from Seema also. Concept to be initiated to build students' curiosity. That's true. That's what we discussed just now, Seema. So how do we make the best practices, you use the best practices to increase innovative and creative thinking? Because tomorrow is going to be about innovative and creative thinking skills. In every school, in the remotest village and in big cities like Delhi or Mumbai or Hyderabad, Bangalore, Chennai, Kolkata, everywhere, it's going to be about creative thinking because there is so much competition. The person who can show that they think differently are the people who would be going ahead. And also, of course, those who are diligent and persevering and resilient. So anybody wants to write how to enhance innovativeness? All right, we will do an activity. Maybe that will be a good way to show you that have a discussion on the topic. Tell me one thing, those who go for workshops, how much do you like discussing things or you like to do things? Which one do you like? All right, Rupinder has written that kids should know why they need to learn a particular topic, asking questions, frame new sentences. Priyadarshini is written, encourage role plays. Very true. Doing things, yes. Discussion. Some have written discuss or discussion is more important. Okay, suppose I didn't let you do this. How much would you like to just listen to a person, or do you like to write and doing things? Vasavi has written doing things. Rinki has written doing things. So I find Sukanya and Jayakumar saying that they like to discuss. Integrate the topic to sports. That's very true, Shikha. Integrate it with sports. You know, children love sports. Hands-on activities, Ruchi is written. Giving case study examples. Very true. Doing things. Thank you, Kavita, for that. So now let's end this part of the thing by you can't design with your discuss with your colleagues about design thinking, but we are going to do something which will help you to get on to the next thing. So there's an activity here. Everybody has a piece of paper, I hope, in front. So I'm going to show you what you need to do. All right. So everybody raise your right hand, okay? And keep a piece of paper in your hand, okay? Now put your right hand at the back. Just put your right hand at the back. Okay, somebody has a question. Sasikala, you have a question? Yes, Sasikala? All right, so let's do it this way. Let us finish doing this and then I'll come back to you, Sasikala, because I don't know whether you are able to, unmute yourself. So just put your right hand. And if you're a lefty, then put your left hand at the back, okay? Now with that piece of paper, without using the main hand that you have, try to make a paper plane. Okay, try to make a paper plane, but don't, if you are a right hand person, don't use your right hand, put it at the back. If you're a left hand person, put your left hand at the back. And with one hand, okay, so I'm a right hand, with one hand, I'll try to make a paper plane. Okay, so I'm trying to make a paper plane with one hand. All right. So now I think I've been able to make. All right, now you have to fly it. After you make it, you have to fly it. Those who finished doing it, please write finished. Okay, so I will know who are the people who finished making it. Oh, I ended up making a little cap for myself. Finished. Okay, very good, Vasavi. You finished making it. All right. So we have somebody at the finishing line. Another one, Bini is finished. Okay. Rupkatha is also done. Nagaveni is finished. All right, wonderful, Chandra. Yes, Chandrasekhar is also finished. Very nice. So this, okay, Punita is done. Brother Jayakumar is done. Priyadarshini, Nazareth, all of them are done. So this is that you made, and Kavita, Sangeeta Bakchi, Seema, Selvi. Very nice, very nice. All right, so all of you could make a design. Okay, of course, if we were face to face, I would have given you a newspaper to do it, but since we are not, this is how we are doing it. Now, what are the things you used? How did you use your mind to do this activity? Gitanjali is also done. What did you use? What were those elements of thinking that you used to do this? Because I'm sure most of you have never done it before. So, okay, Raja Lakshmi is finished. Charu's done. Gitanjali uh, used focus. Right, very true. You used your focus. Okay, Priti, you're finished. So what did you use? Kavita Arora is also finished. What did you use? Somebody's written, Charu Chandra's written, used focus. So, okay, Siva has also finished. Ruchi, analysis and concentration, very well written, Ruchi. Kavita has written different methods, yes. So analysis and concentration, different methods of thinking and working, very right. So this is what it is all about, the design thinking, right? So we'll just go to the next slide. So a very innovative way of thinking is called design thinking. Now you don't have to worry too much because you've already done it, right? You used a situation to, sorry, to do this. I ended up making a cap, right? But you ended up making a plane and flying it. So remember that whenever there is a situation in front of you, the solution should be with you. Why? Because they say, and when I was doing management, they used to say that if you don't have a solution to a situation or problem situation, then you are the problem. Most of us go to the head of school and say, ma'am, I have this problem. I don't know what to do. Well, here in this case, I will say that you are the problem because you found a problem, but you've not found the solution. This is what management says. Many people who spend millions of rupees or millions of dollars to do their MBA, etc. This is one of the key things that's taught in business administration. You must have a solution. Like, let's say you go to the head of school with two solutions, one solution, three solutions, and the head of school says, okay, I'll give you another solution. Fine, let the head of school give you that solution. Otherwise, you can say, ma'am, these are the three solutions or two solutions. Which one do you think will be best? So then your head of school will use her experience and knowledge to tell you which would be the best, you know. So like that, we can go ahead. So design thinking, what is it? Let us start with a problem. So now, when we have a problem like we had just now, where I asked you to put your hand back and make a plane with only one hand, there are three major types of reasoning that exist. It's inductive reasoning, deductive reasoning, and abductive reasoning. So main thing is you have to use your power of reasoning, you know. So these are the three major reasoning methods: inductive, deductive, and abductive. So who can tell me what is inductive way of teaching? You can also see here inductive, deductive, and abductive. So the inductive way is generalize existing ideas. Deductive way is narrow down existing choices, and abductive is a combination. But through your subject, can you tell me what example you can give? If you're a science teacher, what example you can give of inductive and deductive? Then I'll tell you, because I have taught English and science. Maths teachers can also give their example of inductive teaching or reasoning and deductive teaching or reasoning. Okay, I can see some more people who had written whilst I was talking. So precision, very right. Sangeeta, problem solving skill and imagination. Shikha Bhan has written very true. Reasoning and solving, right. So you can now give through your subject an example of inductive and deductive. Telling the formula first and then doing questions. Okay, right, Rupinder? And what is deductive? SST laws. Okay, Kavita Arora has written SST laws. Okay, so you just tell the laws. That's inductive way of teaching. Okay. What will be deductive now? Since you all have, some of you have written the inductive way, what will be deductive? All right, I think I'm happy with the at least inductive way of teaching that you've written about. So I'll give you an example from English. Inductive is, let's say I tell you what is a noun. Okay, that's inductive. That is the inductive way of teaching. Now the deductive is, suppose I tell you, let's say Nicey and I, both of us play the game of name, place, animal, thing. Okay. And then once you have played that game, I say all the names that you have written are all nouns. So you deduce, you conclude. That is the deductive way. That's the deductive reasoning. So one is the inductive and deductive, but actually you should always use the abductive, which is rarely used. A combination of inductive and deductive. So there are activities that can be done, but we will go to this. This is a very common thing which is happening right now in where I live in Gurgaon and in NCR region, growing pollution in bigger cities due to automobiles. Some ideas, the pollution counter or the carbon coupon app, etc. So can you put some ideas as to what can be done to help reduce this kind of pollution? So let's put it in the chat box and see. Thank you, Seema. Your point was very correct. Anil wrote, doing a practical and deducing the conclusion, very true. Tarang Chaudhary wrote, interrelation among results, very true. And okay, stop stubble burning. That's true. Rinky has written. I'm not sure who is this guest because the only guest is written. Growing more trees. Very true. Shikha Bhan has written, we give premise of experiment for deductive, give result of experiment, and then involve students to analyze, evaluate, and deduce the conclusion and give solutions to experimental problem. Very right. Gitanjali Sarna has written electric vehicles. Very true. The most expensive, though, Gitanjali Sarna at the moment. Creating awareness. Very true. Electric vehicles, again, Priyadarshini has written. Perumal has written, use bicycles. I agree, or EV vehicle. I think bicycle is one of the best ways instead of fuel-based vehicle. Absolutely true. To reduce the number of trips we take in cars, but that's not happening. We to have too much of ego that we don't want to pool cars. Stricter laws against burning of crackers, stubble, and encouraging carpooling. Very true, Seema. Preeti has written better public transport. Very true. Sri Vidya wrote, educate our children. That's true. Because most of the times we find that we are teaching our children, but that gets negated when they meet their parents and the parents don't follow what is being told to them. But children are the ones we need to talk to. Reduce carbon footprints, Punita, very true. Leading by example, Seema. Brother Jayakumar has written change of mindset. Yes. Smoke-free vehicles, Nalini. Shikha's written first and foremost, reduce our own carbon footprints. I completely agree. We are culprits first, starting with switching off lights and fans. Avoid traveling short distances by cars. Taruni, very true. It will also encourage exercising, encourage sustainable and less polluting agricultural practices, Smita. Stop burning plastic. So true. Right. So we can see so many good answers, but are we following all of those? Right at the end, I'm going to now see this video. Do you know what happened and where it happened? This happened about in 2020, if I'm not mistaken, January, this happened. This was an outcome of the pollution that is happening and the way we are doing things, you know. Okay, Gitanjali is also written, give the students a lucid aftermath of our actions. So true. Vasavi is a walk if it's short a distance, right? Be the change yourself first. That's what Gandhiji said, that be the change you want to see in the world. So this was actually an incident in Uttarakhand that happened, and the whole glacier which broke and came down, and there was a dam being built, and the dam was completely broken by that huge glacier that broke away. It is high time we all start thinking of how to ensure that this world, which we have not inherited from our ancestors but borrowed from our children, remains intact. Every time we go up to the hills, we see landslides. Just now, Himachal Pradesh had a huge landslide, and we should be very, very mindful what we are doing and whenever we go up. So now, what is design thinking? We just now talked about how we can make a paper plane with one hand. We talked about how we can stop things like this from happening. That is, we saw how that glacier broke away, how pollution is the biggest problem today. In spite of people having so much of money, there is nothing we can do if we cannot breathe. And I can tell you that every morning when I get up, I'm coughing, you know. We were just now up in the hills in Uttarakhand. I stopped coughing. I've been coughing for the last 1.5 months. So, what are we doing wrong? A lot of things we are doing wrong. And we can use design thinking to ensure that we rectify these wrongs that we are doing. Because, like I said at the beginning, we don't know the jobs of tomorrow. I ask all of you, how many of you are aware of ambient computing? I ask you, how many of you are aware of DAL-E? No idea, most of us. Generative AI, you know, uh, whatever I come to know about these things, I learn from my students because they are way ahead of us in these matters. So we as teachers, we need to get into design thinking. And this is an example of design thinking that happened in 1946 in Anand. And that is Amul. So what is Amul actually? Anand Milk Union Limited. And we don't know, we always say Amul, right? But Amul, the full form, it's an acronym. It stands for Anand Milk Union Limited. So this gentleman who started, we know him as Dr. Kurian, you know, but there was a gentleman before him also. But anyways, we won't go into it that. But Dr. Kurian, who became very famous, and you can see his photograph over there, he decided that the milk that was being produced in small, small villages, he would get them together in one place and started this Anand Milk Union Limited, which is today the most famous Amul. And this is a sign of, or this is an example of design thinking. So we must remember this kind of change in a problem which is existing is part of design thinking. So, what is innovation? I want you to quietly read this. Innovation is at first a great idea, and then read the other points. The last line is very important. So is the first and second, but tools, techniques, and mindful problem solving. You all mentioned how you all became mindful, conscious or mindful. That's what you mentioned. So you already know. Then identifying and developing new growth opportunities. You also talked about it, right? How do we identify and develop those new growth opportunities? You did that through tackling the problem of pollution or tackling the problem of cutting down trees, etc., and balancing of doing and thinking. Just thinking will or talking will not help. You have to do it. So design thinking, these are the tools and techniques. First, you have to observe what is the problem, for which you have to use your five senses or maybe four senses. Then you have to empathize. You have to feel, oh my God, the planet is getting ruined. I must do something to remove the problems. That is empathizing. And then you find indicators which will help you to decide. I'm sorry, there's a spelling error here. It's indicators which will help you to ensure or find out first and then ensure that these are being used to help solve the problem. And after you have used these indicators to solve, you have to test, is it helping? So like we say, you should do carpooling. But how many people do carpooling? Very few. I know in our school there are four people who do carpooling. So they come from Delhi to Gurgaon, they do carpooling, which is very good. But in your within your surrounding, please find out who's doing what. Ask children to write that. And then we have to look at the final outcomes that happen after you have tested the prototype has been seen. So you can see, observe, understand, ideate, build, do, reflect. Okay. So this is the process of design thinking. And this includes VUCA and SDGs. I'm going to show you how we put this into our lesson plans itself at Suncity School, because then you could also think of this is one practice. In fact, those who have CBSE schools and do school inspections, in that inspection handbook, this lesson plan of Suncity School has also been put as a prototype for others to follow. So this is the class 7 science and technology that I'm going to show you just now. Unfortunately, this is first semester. I wish it was second semester because you've started second semester. Nevertheless, you'll get an idea. So this is how our first page, this is how our first page looks. This is the second page. And these are signatures of teachers so that parents know how the signature looks of a teacher. You know how smart and sharp children are in forging signatures sometimes, and parents may not even know how it looks. So we do this to ensure that parents know. We also give the print books, the textbooks that's going to be used, and we have two textbooks. So we have a reference book also. So if the textbook, main textbook is an Indian publication, then the reference book will be a foreign publication, because in Gurgaon there is a lot of expats and NRIs, etc. So we try to do this, but that's okay. Then there are sites for reference and digital books. These are already we put over there in our planner, lesson plans or concept plans, what will come for the formative assessment and summative assessment and internal assessment, which will be project based. Now you can see how the color coding is done, so that, and this goes to parents also. It goes to parents so that parents know how the particular concept will be taught. So you can see the MIs are the SDGs. Can you see over here? Sorry, the MIs are the multiple intelligences, and the SDGs are the Sustainable Development Goals, which are 17 in number. And the green over here, this is part of the SDG. And like that, it is all color coded, right? So that you can see competency based is in yellow, and green is your SDGs. Like this, the color coding is given so that everybody knows what is going to be done. Like in this chemistry, you can see how the art has been integrated, which I'm sure many schools are doing. We also, and then you see the column with the multiple intelligence and an SDGs. And these are the activities. So May had 14 days. So it is a shorter thing that we show over here. Then we also have these videos we show the children, and they are supposed to do design thinking on those, right? So the blue ones are part of that. So we have this color coding, and we also have something called ask, which is application, skill, and knowledge. So ask is, and that's what the children should do when they are curious. So we call it ask. Our methodology is called ask, application, skill, and knowledge. So this is how our lesson plans look. And then in biology also you can see. So the color coding, like I said, it's SDGs, it's competency based, and VUCA or design thinking is how we color code our activities, etc., projects. So this is how it is done. And now I will, before we end, because I know that I was told by Nicey that there'll be some question answers also. So I will just show you this road not taken in English. We have this poetry in grade 10, if I'm not mistaken. So we initiate, or rather I initiated this with this picture, and I would ask the children, okay, now you've seen the picture, what do you think is what are we going to do today? And it's not so difficult because they know which chapters, prose or poetry are there, so they can see this image and they can say the road not taken. So this I would use over there. But here are the SDGs. I've not gone into the poetry because I thought this is not an English lesson to be taught. So, but that is an idyllic situation I showed you, right? An ideal situation. But what happens when you go into the forests? Look at the garbage that is there. I can tell you, I was in Uttarakhand just now. So the garbage which is in the pine trees, amongst the pine trees, people just stop there to admire the Himalayas and throw everything over there. Then in the waters, so here is SDG climate, SDG 13 for climate action, 14 for life below water, and SDG 15 for life on land. So under this poetry, we would use the design thinking, the SDGs, etc., the multiple intelligences. So you can see what is the design thinking. Cleaning drive, so awareness, pamphlets distributed for cleanliness, area-wise cleaning competition and orientation regarding cleanliness in Hutman, like in the slums. Our children go to the slums, they clean up, especially in the month of August, when they also give them, they teach them through charts about, the various diseases which are uh, coming from mosquitoes. So, and then there is one thing we are not talking about. We're talking about land and water and air. What about space? We have already begun to dirty space with the broken, all the satellites which break down there in space. They will never get disintegrated. So I think you should tell your children to start thinking of a way of removing all this garbage which is collecting in space, right? So, and of course, these are the SDGs and multiple intelligence symbols that have been used. So I've given you a prototype of our lesson plan and teaching of a concept. So this is part of design thinking and how we can put design thinking like I put just now, especially the space part was the design thinking that I put. And this is how we do our worksheets. It's called CRAB. So this is differentiated learning. So CRAB actually stands, you can see these symbols over here. These symbols, this 1, 2, 3 and 4, right? These are the symbols. Parents don't come to know, but for the same concept, we try and do it like this. So one worksheet, C is for challenging, R is for recapitulation, A is for advanced, and B is for basic. So recap is of the previous class. How much do you remember? Then basic is the fundamental concept that's going to be taught. Then we give challenging, which is HOTS, and advanced. Wherever the children get stuck out of these four, we know that this class has understood, till what till what extent they have understood, and then we will do the formative teaching or diagnostic learning, as they call it, from there on. So this is a differentiated learning method. You are seeing these names over here, but parents don't see it. They only see the symbols, and our teachers know what these symbols mean. And thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I hope I have been able to give you an insight to an extent into what is uh, design thinking and how to implement it.
Yeah, ma'am, we have the first question here. In what ways can technology be integrated to enhance collaboration and engagement in the classroom?
Well, I feel it is us who are not able to integrate technology. Given even the slightest opportunity, our students can integrate it beautifully. Of course, we also have things like Chat GPT today, where we do not know what the what the limit is. So, but at the same time, having IB in our school also, IB has allowed students to use Chat GPT, but they cannot use the words exactly, but they can use Chat GPT. So I think here we, especially us, we need to understand that we are the ones who are being held back. Now, what we need to do is what we need to read continuously. Like I said, that, are you aware of what exactly is generative AI? What is the difference between artificial intelligences and other, like ambient computing? What is ambient computing? So we have to read more where technology is concerned, and then kind of help to make it multidimensional by making our subjects related with or through the technological background we should allow. Like DAL-E, I just was reading about it a month ago, and I was so impressed as to what all can be done through DAL-E. So it is, I mean, at least for myself, I can say that I need to read continuously to tell the children, but the children are very smart. They know what technology to use to learn which aspect of the, whether it's the concept or the unit that they are studying.
Thank you, ma'am, for that. We have another question here. What is the solution for rural India and the poor who do not even see a computer? How to uplift the rural India in education?
Thank you for asking that question, brother, because I can tell you that over here, thus far, we have helped 4 schools by giving our old computers, because in the tier 1, tier 2 cities, the old computers, the new computers come in after a short span of time, or software comes in, or some of them, the keyboard may get a little damaged and people don't want to use it. We have started sending it to these rural areas. And I can tell you, we've sent it to Jammu recently. We have put it into a school of the widows of soldiers. Who There is a school close by. So, like this, I would request all the people from tier 1, tier 2, even tier 3, maybe, to kind of send their old computers to rural areas, to connect with NGOs. So it was the NGOs which reached out to me when I was the chairperson of the Sahodaya, and we helped them, to by giving them. So we told our 52 members, can you give your old? And so many schools came forward. So I'm talking about 23 itself, that we donated those old computers from different schools to schools around, and up to Jammu. We put it into a van and sent it to Jammu. So this is how we are trying to help in the rural areas.
Thank you, ma'am, for that. We have another question here. How can we encourage students to take a more active role in shaping their learning paths?
in shaping their
learning path?
Ah, so one thing I must say, it's a very well-known thing that when a student likes a teacher and the teacher's teaching, they get interest in that subject. So I think many of us, when we don't find children taking interest in our subject, we need to introspect, change our methodology, use different methodology, look, read more. Like, if you read Kolb's cycle, then you will find that how the learning happens. If learning happens in a particular way, then we need to address it because every child doesn't learn the same way. And we must remember this, that we have to adapt because some children are reflective, some children are experimental. So different children learn in different ways. So we need to cater. That is why I said differential learning. You saw crab sheets, assignments. So that addresses differential learning. So we will have also, besides the fact that they are of different levels, one will address, more project based, one will address more of the pedantic or book based, like that, so that we also help children to learn in different ways, because one size doesn't fit all, is the thing that we must remember.
Thank you, ma'am, for that. We have another question here. What creative approaches can be employed to make learning more enjoyable and memorable?
Okay, all of you go back to when you were a child. What did you love doing mostly? Play, right? You loved it when you were playing. So use all those play sports games to teach them. So like, one of our courtyards is checkered, our maths courtyard. So the children go and do a lot of their maths learning in that courtyard because it's a checkered. So whether it be graphs, whether it be measurement, so like that, like there is a very boring topic called mean median mode. Everybody who's here will agree that that's a very boring topic. I found it extremely boring. Here in our school, the children go to a mall or there's a market in front also, and they kind of interview people who are there and try to collect data and then bring back whatever data they collect, and then they process it through mean median mode. So to make things creative, innovative, you have to think of things like this. Suppose you don't have it in your school. I'm teaching angles. How difficult it is to make an angle on the door. How difficult. So everything can be thought of like that. If you're teaching integers, you can draw a line in your corridor and then teach integers. So, and especially I take maths because many people feel that maths is tough or physics is tough because it's more calculations or things like that. So that is how. So I'll give you a very quick example of teaching physics. Everybody does force, that concept of force. So in our school, they have to go out into the field, take 5 different kinds of balls. So take a golf ball, a cricket ball, a tennis ball, a basketball, and also take a soccer ball. Now you try to hit these 5 balls into the goal post. Which one do you think will go in quickly? So that is one thing. Then let's say the soccer ball goes in quickly, not the golf ball. You start thinking, why is the golf ball not going? And why is the soccer ball going? Because it has air. Now deflate the ball. Now you try to hit the ball into the goal post. So much of discussion will come out of this, just by this activity, that I can tell you that the teacher will not even have to teach that concept. It is going to be that easy for a teacher because they understand that force is equal to mass into acceleration, right? So when you hit the golf ball, because it's very dense, or a leather cricket ball, it's very easy. And the soccer ball you hit, why the three of them have different force has to be applied to them. So these are innovative ways of teaching and keeping in mind child psychology. How to address child psychology.
Thank you, ma'am, for that. We have another question here. Vocational skill training for rural youth. Any creative plan?
So I have seen not only in rural places, but even in places like Ajmer, where they have small workshops, or they tie up with a carpenter, or they tie up with, with various people to do this kind of work. I'll give you an example of a school called Mayo College, which is a school in Ajmer. And there it's a school from grade 5 to grade 12. And, even the trophies from that school are made by the children in the school. So they go to their carpentry workshop and they make these trophies, and beautiful trophies they make. So you have to think on your feet. You have to think out of the box like we did today. So that is very, very important. Like you put your hand at the back and made with one hand, which is not your working hand, a plane that, sorry, a paper plane, that itself is thinking out of the box, that how am I going to make this with one hand? So you have to think out of the box. And in rural India, there's so much of material that they can use to make stuff. Ajmer, of course, is a two-tier city, but I can talk because I've lived in a place called Rajsamand in Rajasthan, which is really back of beyond, right? And I can tell you the kind of things, like when I used to teach them about different kinds of stones. So I used to take them on a nature walk, because Rajasthan is known for its marble, for its dholpur stone. You have to think what's available around you and then utilize that. Then when they were learning civics, they were sent to meet the SDM, the DC, because small towns, this is a very big advantage. You know each other, or the IG, sorry, the police, the SP, not IG. IG will be in a bigger city, but the SP. So these are things you have to think. So I remember the first time I took the children to meet the DC, he was so thrilled. He said nobody has ever come, because it's a very small place called Kakroli, in Rajsamand district in Rajasthan. So you have to think. I have lived in the rural areas, so I can tell you that there are many things you can do in the rural area.
Yes, ma'am. There are plenty of things we can do in the rural area. Like we also have an experience during the COVID time.
Mm-hmm.
We had, you know, provided plenty of activities for children through online. But the school in Chessor, they were really backward. They didn't have proper facilities or internet or anything. So what the school was doing is we were sending our activities to the principal, and the principal would distribute it through the teacher. They were providing these activities to the homes of the students, and they would do the activities and send us the photos and videos. So through those activities, those children were making disposable cups, natural plates with natural things, disposable plates and all useful things for their home. So all these activities were very nature friendly. So they were doing it in that way. So this it's actually based on our Pallikudam pedagogy, which I already spoke about. It goes through the intrinsic motivation. It's done through the intrinsic motivation, goes through 5 stages, namely creation, celebration, communication, collaboration, and finally a campaign wherein the students are motivated to develop a product, service, or a solution for the society. Let's move on to the next question. What tools or platforms can be developed to support the teachers in personalizing the learning experience for each student?
So I just showed you how we do differential learning in our school. So, but in your own school, I don't know what is the size of these schools, but I think beyond 40, 45, none of the schools are functioning now. But with 40 children, you can easily, if you have a way of keeping what we call the anecdotal records, then it becomes very easy. You don't have to do much. Like when I was a teacher of English, I had made 6 or 7 columns, keeping in mind pronunciation, keeping in mind involvement, whether the child used to be involved and make an effort to learn. So if you just put those make those columns and put ticks, and then check in that, because I would have 32 students in my class when I was in Rajsamand in Rajasthan. And I used to then go back to my anecdotal records and then check. Of course, anecdotal record, one was academic side and one was what was their behavioral pattern, right? If I took them on a nature walk, were they involved? Were they paying attention to what was being done? Because if you have to pick up pebbles, you have to choose and pick up the pebbles, right? So that they knew which stone they're picking up. Let's say we are picking up slate. Were they picking up a conglomerate or were they picking up a slate? That also is a way of understanding that differential learning, right? So these are few things that you can do. Similarly, in English, if you do tell them to record their voices, because today it's very easy to record your voice. Everybody has a phone. Forget the laptops. In fact, you don't need laptops and desktops. Everybody has a phone. So on the phone, you record your voice and then you listen, because today there's so many apps, so many sites where you can, kind of check whether you are able to pronounce the words right. Is your grammar, grammatical errors? You can see that. Should it be by or should it be at? Small prepositions are a big problem. Like many people say me and my friend instead of saying my friend and I. So there are all these little nuances, and I'm speaking about as an English teacher here, that you can go to so many of these sites and apps and learn these things. So I think the world has become our playground now, no more confined to a classroom. We have to open up and not have a tunnel vision at all. And I think the teachers did a fantastic job during COVID. And really, I say this in every platform that people were calling teachers, oh, they've become commercialized, they are not concerned, they have nothing new to do, it's the same old thing. But I think we have put a full stop. We teachers have put a full stop to all this talk by becoming from the teacher to a guru in the time of COVID and showing everybody how we can single-mindedly, with sometimes half the salary in some of the schools, do such a fantastic job with the children. So I think we have it in us, and I am a die-hard fan of teachers around the globe, especially in India as gurus. I think we do a fantastic job.
Thank you, ma'am, for that. We have one more question here. How can we create low-cost prototypes of educational interventions for testing in real classrooms?
So when you're talking about testing, of course, you have to be more precise what you are testing. Are you testing thoughts? Are you testing academic work? Are you testing project-based work? So that I need a little more. But having said that, let's say, you will have academic, then you will have activity-based learning, and you will have academic. In our school, we call it transversal education. So transversal is 3 parts. Experiential is 2 parts. Knowledge, everybody imparts knowledge. Every school, they impart knowledge. In an experiential school, it's knowledge plus experience. In transversal education, which we focus on, and now you will also see it in a lot of the new curriculum which is coming out in CBSE, transversal is knowledge, experience, and employability skills. This is absolutely imperative. So when we are doing skills, it doesn't matter, nothing matters, that we check the skills, that is this child able to go forward. You may experience something, but is that skill good enough for going into the real world and applying it in the real world? So in our school, we also have something called summer jobs. We tie up with companies and we do summer jobs. We are doing this is a 17-year-old school. The last 11, 12 years, 11 years, we are doing it. And also we have something called entrepreneurial ventures. So they have startups, grade 11. 9 to 11 does the summer jobs and grade 11 does entrepreneurial venture. So you may do a startup and you tell us what you're doing in that startup. So these are good ways of ensuring that you check what the learning is through this hands-on, like many people wrote that a lot of learning by doing. And this is one of the ideas that could be used for measuring the learning by doing, that how applicable it is in the real world. Because if it is only confined in the classroom and not applicable in the real world, then it's not going to have much value, is it?
Thank you, ma'am, for that. Do we have any more questions? Okay, so we are grateful to Ms. Rupa Chakravarty for the insights you've shared. It was an inspiring and interactive session. I also thank all our participants for being with us. Thank you all once again and have a great evening.
Thank you, participants. Thank you for being so participative. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nicey. Thank you for coordinating and moderating. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you for the kind words. Thank you.